Hi, everyone. I'm Scott Nicholson. I'm here with Jayla Barnes, who is a nurse practitioner who specializes in palliative care, and she's also on the board of the Judy Nicholson Kidney Cancer Foundation. Today, she's here to talk with us about coping through the holidays. Welcome, Jayla. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Scott, and hi, everybody who's joined the conference on today. It is my pleasure to be before you at this time and to talk about coping through the holidays. So greetings to you, and thanks again for tuning into the Judy Nicholson Kidney Cancer Foundation. And we look forward to further interactions and engagement with you. Please don't forget to check out our website, our web pages. We are on the social media sites, and look forward to providing further support to you through those avenues as well. So let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about coping through the holidays. All right. My slide doesn't want to advance. Let's see. All right.
There it goes.
There we go. All right, navigating through the holidays. This first slide, so let's identify first things first. So as you can imagine, coping with or dealing with navigating the holidays can be a challenge when you're dealing with loved ones who have serious illness or health limitations. I think immediately you start to think of all the things that you do one way and have to explore then how do you move forward or work around those things. So our goal today is to give you some food for thought, both to hopefully answer some of your questions, give you some things to anticipate as a planner, whether you're the patient or the caregiver, whatever your role is within your family. We want to try to help you navigate these decisions and how to plan. All right. This is not just about the individual who is going through the crisis, but the entire family as a whole and the support team. Because this is one of those times when you want to include as many people as possible, but make sure that they're key people that are going to be pertinent to you and that you have the opportunity to define for them how their help may be helpful or important to you. For many, that first year after the loss of a loved one is going to be especially challenging. So we want to include that in this discussion as well. A few reminders here and there. One, of course, is there is no rule to how you define this journey, but what we will provide for you here is we're going to give you some tips to help support you through the journey and then help you kind of redefine your space and what that time looks like. All right. So over the course of this discussion, you can definitely pop your questions or comments in the chat line, and we'll be happy to address those. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end where we hopefully can have more dialogue about things that you have more questions about or just things that you need additional support with. So keep that in mind as well. All right. Over the course of this discussion, but as well as your course with illness and or as you navigate loss and what loss may mean. It could be the death of a loved one, but it may be the loss of a routine or the change in what your norm has been. So feelings throughout that course may change quite often. And so as we say here, dealing with illness, loss, as well as redefining your new norm. So for those of you that are still fighting the fight, as we say, or going through this journey, your course of treatment and care, the caregiver still trying to navigate and maintain some sense of normalcy with the loved one who's ill, but also the other household and family responsibilities. This new norm is a concept too we want to include in the conversations of how do we cope through the holidays. And as you learn more about yourself through the journey, again, whether you're the patient or the caregiver, whether you're the family member trying to support and identify this holiday plan or the new changes there, the more you learn about yourself, the more it's going to help you communicate your needs and anticipate the conversations to come with your family. All right, I want to bring back to your remembrance, or for some of you, this may be the first time you've seen this, but I want you to remember the 7 stages of grief. This is going to be important as you plan your holiday festivities. Again, not because you're mourning the loss of a loved one, but you may be. But this is going to talk about then sometimes how difficult it may be to find yourself in a place, or the reasons why you have to plan to make changes in your routine. And when those changes, whether it's a physical limitation because of a health situation, whether it's less loved ones around or available to help maintain the routine, whatever that change catalyst was or is, you may find yourself in one of these or in different stages of the grief. And so at the bottom, it says grief is not only about dying, but it's about significant change as well. And so that first stage being the shock and denial. This is not happening. I didn't expect this. I don't want to change. I'm not at a place where change even sounds like something I want, though it's happening to me regardless. Pain and guilt. Looking at then what can I do to minimize the insult? If there's something I can do to change, did I bring this on? What did what did our family dynamic do? What is that cause for this, the contributing factors here? Anger and bargaining. This is when you identify certain things that may or may not influence the state or situation that you find yourself in and your family. However, you wish for, or the frustration of not being able to change it quick enough, or go back to what once was, or speed ahead to an easier time. That bargaining and frustration, that anger can be there. And then depression. Depression, you also in this phase can find yourself reflecting on some of the previous holiday events or activities, traditions, as well as some of the loneliness and tendency to want to isolate yourselves so that you and or your loved one don't feel like you're a burden, or that you cause other family members to have to change their plans to accommodate or to include you. Upward turn. Upward turn is then the stage where, you know what, I can't change this and I can't speed things along. Let me at least find some sense of complacency or normalcy where I am right now. I still have hope. I still have what I would like to see happen. However, I can't quite define it just yet. There are too many variables right now to make a solid decision one way or the other. Then reconstruction. Reconstruction is when you're now able to then, with you and your family, enter into more of a planning phase. What can we do? How can we get these things moving along? And what does that look like? During this phase, this is what this presentation today will help us navigate then when you find yourselves, or we find ourselves in the upward turn, the adjustment phase, the restructuring or the work it through planning phase, and then the acceptance. What are our new norms, and how then do we navigate what these are going to look like? So where do we go from here when we've identified, or at least evaluated, where we are, you are, patient, family, where you find yourself in those stages? Then there's a few things to remember. I say a couple, but a few things to remember. It's important that you identify where you are. That may mean that you include family members, other discussions, counselors, therapists, your physicians. This is where you do some self-reflection, some self-meditation, so to speak, to kind of really gauge your place in your coping phase, or where you are in the big picture. How do you feel? Being honest with yourself, being honest with family and friends. I'm angry, I'm sad. I want to scale back a little bit from our normal routine. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel in a few weeks, so let's plan and know that it's okay to unplan. You're gauging kind of what you're open to and what you're not. You're going to give yourself permission, though, to feel however you feel. That's going to change. There are certain reminders, certain things that are going to be triggers, so to speak. And it's okay to identify those, to pause, to find out what it is that caused that feeling to change, that gave you that sense of pause or the sense of anxiety. Step away for a moment and then try to come to grips with what that may be, what that feeling is, whether you can talk it through, whether you can write it out, whether you just need some time of quiet. And we'll talk more about that shortly too. And then developing practices then. How do I embrace these feelings when they're good or acceptable, or even when I don't feel like they're the best feeling in the world? I don't like it, but how then do I work through it? And we'll talk more about that as well. And then how do I counter these feelings? So we're going to talk about that as well. So then identifying people that you trust throughout this journey, this vulnerable phase is going to be huge because again, you're planning for your holidays and you want to have a way to then include family, friends, loved ones in this journey, but they're going to need to take your lead on how to engage with you during the different phases of what may be. And that's part of the anticipation part or phase that we're going to discuss as well. So it all comes together. So then coping in and of itself, coping is how we look at our emotions, how we define what triggers there are, and then through research, through study, through these conversations, through being partners with others who have been in similar situations, who have had the time to talk through their feelings and to figure it out. There's a lot of literature, there's books, there's research, there's the web has lots of information. But I tell you, counseling and group therapy cannot be emphasized enough as you move towards the planning and the anticipatory things that are to come as it relates to your holiday. This is a time where your family normally can be happy. I think from probably October, November, December, those 3 months especially, fall comes on and brings with it all the anticipation for what the holidays bring. The seasons are changing, the weather, everything around you is changing. And then you have your own personal journey that you're going through. And so what we want to look at then is how can coping then be incorporated into our pre-planning? And there are some key things that we'll talk about here. And this actually won't just only apply to the holidays. I mentioned in a previous slide that the first year of any kind of pivotal life change for you and or your family, it's going to require that you look at and anticipate those certain milestones that you can anticipate: birthdays, holidays, anniversaries. There'll be graduations. There are certain things that are going to come in time that you anticipate your presence and some anxiety or different emotions that may come with that. So these things will hopefully help you as you navigate that as well. All right. So one, acknowledge and anticipate that the holidays are going to be difficult. Tell yourself it's okay to know that there's going to be some things that might come up that you can't anticipate, some feelings, some situations. And I'll tell you, being in the provider role for so long, but also being on the other side of the medical code or the medical management, I am a family member, I am a daughter, I am a granddaughter. And so I've been in this place of grief and emotional coping myself when it comes to the love and or loss of a loved one, working through a healthcare crisis with another family member. And I can tell you, people's intentions are good, but sometimes they may not even realize some of the questions and things that may come up that can be, I don't want to say insensitive, but I think it to some extent can be categorized as that, but that's not the intent. So their intentions are good. They want to check in and see how they can help. But they don't know what to do or how to go down those roads. So this is where you want to designate people in your life and as part of your inner circle who can help you express your wishes, whether you tell them to friends and family directly, or whether or not they then can take on some of those responsibilities. So the first thing when we're looking at gatherings, because that's a huge thing when it comes to holidays, gatherings. Whether your family has a get together at an individual's home or you have a vacation location that you tend to go to, give yourself permission to either drive yourself or have a designated person to escort you. The importance there is, depending on where you are and how you feel and what you may find some of your triggers to be, you may even find that some of the things you weren't expecting to be triggers. But that person, you all have a signal or a sign, or even just the permission to be able to say, I'm ready, I need to leave, or I want to go. And it's okay to need to leave and exit an event without having to give a lot of expectations or explanations. Determine traditions prior to your holiday activities that are absolute things that you want to see happen, that you want to continue. And again, knowing that you also are giving yourself internally permission to change that as needed. So to define what traditions absolutely should remain in place and would make you happy or bring some sense of joy or normalcy to see them happen. And then there's okay to also identify things that you don't want to do this year. Things that you're okay with someone else taking over and doing it, and maybe doing it their way. Meaning they may not do it exactly the way you have, but there's multiple ways to get some of the same tasks and activities accomplished. So it's okay to give them those responsibilities. Determine where you think you want to be. Do I want to be really with the big family, or would you like for certain family members to be included, or just your inner circle? And that could be family or friends. Do you want to do a big 20 or 30 person gathering, or would you like for it to be 5 to 10 of your closest family members, friends, children, grandchildren, siblings? You get to make those wishes known up front. And again, always giving yourself permission that it's okay to change that if and when you feel the need to. All right. We all deal with difficult or challenging situations differently. And I think one of the most important things, though all of these are equally, I should say, equally important, but one of the things I want you to remember is we all handle things differently. We all internalize things differently. We all express things differently. And so though you're anticipating your needs and how you're going to navigate the holidays, it is about most important that you remember that someone else going through the similar or same situation with you may not feel the same way that you do. They may not cope the same way that you do. They may want to see certain traditions continue. They may opt to put that tradition into another basket or family gathering so that they can continue that. And that's okay. If it's something that's really important to you, that people respect your wish in a certain area, find the time to sit down and talk with the ones that you think can help express your concern, your wishes, as well as just your feelings about it, so that there's no secret or no animosity. The holidays are a time that emotions are already high, and so you don't want to fester or allow any misinterpretations. And so it's important that you, and again, this is a lot of what we're talking in the pre-planning phase. There will be times during the holiday festivities that you may identify a trigger or a need that you weren't anticipating. And it's okay to discuss that at that time too. But the things that you can pre-plan and discuss, prepare for, it's good to have someone or a few people in your inner circle that can help kind of navigate and maintain that. And again, the principles and things that we're discussing apply. We're talking the holiday seasons, but can apply to other milestones and areas that you're going to find yourself dealing with. So then when we're redefining our traditions and our holidays, what are some of the things that we can do? So all along the way here, so far, we've talked about just the emotion and the thought part of, letting go with or adding to what we have already historically done. Here are a few ideas, and they're open to you interpreting them and making them whatever you need them to be. Because remember, this is you and your family's journey. And what you want to do here is hold on to the things that are meaningful to you and make adjustments where needed. But this is also an opportunity to incorporate some new things. And while that can sometimes be intimidating a little bit to think of something new and out of the box, I just placed a few things here, but these by far are not the only things. The first one is a memory box or stocking. Now remember, we're talking baby pictures, first tooth, engagement photos. We're talking previous holiday celebrations. This may be pulling out old, going through pictures of different Halloween events, ugly sweater festivities. I've seen that, and those can be quite enjoyable to see how creative people can be, whether they make their own sweaters or maybe your guests decorate their own stocking. They bring a stocking that they created. But either way it goes, or however you incorporate this tradition or a new tradition, activity, if you will, into your routine with you and your family, be creative, change it up, make it whatever is going to be enjoyable to you. You know your family and friends, you know what their strong suits are. Create laughter where you can, because trust me, there are going to be times when the tears will flow, and that's okay. So with that in mind, light a candle. Now, again, these are not just things that are talking about because you've lost a loved one. That can definitely be done. But the lighting of the candle can be you assigning meaning to that candle in whatever way you and your family define it. And you can, again, be as creative as you wish. These can be purchased candles. This can be an opportunity to do an activity together where you make candles. You can find all types of activities that give you different ideas to add to these traditions or topics, and in whatever way you feel most creative, and that could be meaningful to you and your family going forward. The next is donate to charities. While some people say, oh, we do that every year. Beautiful, but how significant then can you make this with maybe give a challenge, sock drive, t-shirt drives, assign it a theme, find out what charities you can switch around to from year to year. Volunteer, take your family out and find moments when you could give back to the community. I think one of the greatest ways to find joy and fulfillment, and everyone will have their own way of doing this, and not every one of these ideas will fit you and your family, your likes and what you find comfort in. But I also challenge you to push yourself a little bit and move outside of your comfort zone. Find things that you can say, you know what, we've not done that before. I don't think we'd enjoy it. But I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that some of these things will interest you. Adopting a family. Now, while this is not moving someone into your home and things of that nature, that's a great undertaking when you likely are still navigating your own family's changes and what your new normal is. But this is looking out again. I think finding ways that we can give to others and find that fulfillment tends to also increase or improve our own internal. We are mind, body, and spirit. And it recharges us in ways that I can say, I don't think we ever really understand or can gauge up front. But if you've ever done it before, you definitely can feel what that feels like. All right. Decorate ornaments together. Again, this is while we're talking pre-planning, but this can be new traditions that the family can pick up and do. And so finding themes again, where you can go to the stores and you can just paint the little statues or little figurines that you can purchase, or you can get the little balls and paint different themes or what have you on those, but do it together. Do it as a family, whether you're talking the 2 of you or 20 of you, it totally is up to you. Pulling out old photos, we mentioned that before with the memory box idea, but here when we're pulling together these photos and these ideas for your activity or family event for the holidays, again, oh my gosh, I still love to go through baby pictures, and I've seen them time and time again. But it's not month after month. It could be a few years in between me looking. And I think every time a new family member brings over their book or what have you, I find a new picture that I promise I haven't seen before. But there's stories that are tagged to them. There's family things that you can share with each other and just continue to redefine how you and your family get together, how you talk, how you communicate. And then this is one, we've done this a few times, and it's definitely a surprise. We know traditionally the holidays are filled with turkey and ham and roast and all the fixings and all the sides. And I'm not saying get rid of that altogether at all. But maybe one of your holiday events or your festivities, you pick something totally different for a change. Maybe you have an Italian food night. Maybe you do a Mexican menu. Maybe you do a seafood night. And all the dishes find a way to, include this new norm or this something different, just to make it a little different and out of the norm. And then some of you may say, you know what, I usually do, not only my family, my friends, I really go and do a lot of things. So maybe you're the person who this year, or when needed, scale back a little bit. It's okay to also, in redefining how you how you have your tradition or you engage for the holidays, it's also okay to scale back a bit. So it's okay to skip a few events and whether you're feeling overwhelmed or just anticipating that it can be a bit much, it is okay to do that. And this slide is strictly to remind you, take it one day at a time. Everything that this presentation and that we want to encourage you with for today and going forward is make sure that you remind yourself that though you are planning, though you are anticipating what you may or may not feel and what you and your loved one may or may not need, or if you do all of this planning for a non-traditional holiday celebration and your loved one is ill or not feeling up to attending, so you have to change again, or maybe you made all of these changes and they can attend and you say, well, we could have left it how it was. Remember, you're giving yourself room to expand and to broaden how you celebrate your holidays, your family and friends. And at no point should it be or feel punitive to you if it all cannot be executed. You have to give yourself permission to plan as well as to unplan. All right. And so here is that time, or because you never want to have an opportunity where your loved one is feeling well or you are feeling well, and you say, man, I wish we had done this differently. That may happen. However, when you plan and kind of anticipate, this is the goal and the hope is that we can help you get to that place. The next thing, so here with taking it one day at a time, remember, spoil yourself, whether it means buying a special gift for yourself. Maybe it means not splurging quite as much and buying as many gifts this year. Maybe it means including a massage day or something special. I talk to people quite often and I've asked them, one of the questions I ask when you're dealing with planning and stress and just a fast-paced life, health issues, family dynamics, whatever it may be, work in the medical profession. I work with a lot of individuals who have to deal with illness within a family, but still come to work renewed every day to help care for the loved ones and the patients that we have. And so part of what I ask them, I'll say when I can see they're getting tired, I said, is your cup half empty or half full? Because there's always a correct answer. And if you will remember, if you're pouring into your cup and you stop, that cup is half full. But if you have water in your cup and you're pouring out, that cup is half empty. So as a caregiver, as a patient, as a family member, as a provider, as a loved one in general, church member, best friend, cousin, whatever your role is, remember, you not only have to be conscious of what's happening with your cup, but you also want to encourage your loved ones to examine and evaluate theirs. Spoiling yourself is one way to pour back into your cup. You know what you enjoy. Might be quiet time. We talked about that in the next bullet here. Take moments of quiet, silence. Other moments may be filled with music and laughter. There's no right or wrong there. It's simply what do you need in the moment and how you can measure your cup. Are you pouring in or pouring out? We're always doing both, or we should be. We're always pouring out. If we're not careful, we could have an empty cup. Because more times than not, we're always pouring out and may not realize it until our cup is dry. So we want to be careful with that. So always find time to spoil yourself, allow yourself to have quiet moments, silence, meditate, whatever it is you need to do. Quiet sometimes is just good alone to clear your mind. But then other times put on music, put on a podcast, talk to loved ones, family, and friends, whatever you need to do. Whatever it is you do, don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty about things that bring you joy and that you are laughing and it's why am I laughing? How can I be happy right now when all these other things are building up? Our body, our internal spirit wants to be recharged. And so you will find times that laughter may erupt and you didn't even expect it. We need to find those moments where we can fill in. So don't ever feel guilty for things that you find pleasure in and that you're able to do to recharge, but also don't feel guilty about things that you can't do and that you can't bring yourself to do. These are going to change as you go. Attend support groups. Remember, it's important to have a core of people who can help you navigate your feelings, your emotions, and to give you ideas of ways to recharge. But more importantly, finding people who not only can empathize with you and what they think they would feel if they were in similar scenarios, but support groups offers in most situations, people that you can look at that they can say, when I felt the way you're feeling, this is how I did, what I did or how I overcame that, or this is how, how we talked to our physician. This is how we navigated the next step. So be mindful of that. Support groups are not just therapy to change your mind about anything. These are opportunities for you to link up with like-minded people who are going through some of the same challenges as you. And so you want to use that opportunity to then share and be a blessing to them as well as to receive. Stay in touch with your spiritual leaders. Again, we're mind, body, and spirit. This is not so much about religion or any of that. It can definitely be incorporated and included, but find your spiritual leaders, people who believe the way that you believe and can support you in the ways that you've identified your need to be. Assign tasks to family members. We talked about that earlier, but remember here, when we're in our effort to take things one day at a time, there's going to be tasks and things that you will need to delegate. And it's okay to delegate. It's okay to give people very specific instructions for things that you know are very important to you, that need to or can be done easiest a certain way, as well as it's okay to totally let go the reins and tell them, I trust you and I allow you to improvise and make this, give them the idea of what you're trying to accomplish, the feeling, the emotion, the mood behind it, and then allow them to interpret that and then place it into action in whatever way they feel best. In our effort to cope and deal with our emotions and to talk and to feel, be careful during the holiday seasons that it's easy to eat and drink our emotions. Be careful, everything in moderation, but just be aware of what you are consuming on a day-to-day basis. Don't treat your emotions with eating and with drinking in excess, because where we can get there is not only can we create other challenges and problems, but it's only a temporary fix. And you either are going to continue to indulge or you could create some other problems. So be careful with that, but continue to talk with your families and remind yourself it's okay to cry. Science and research showed a study, and this was many years ago, so I don't have the reference now, but I'm happy to share more when if I need to find that for you. But there was a study that showed our tears. Have you ever laughed so hard that you had tears coming and you literally were just out of breath, stomach tight, but tears are flowing? But then in another incident, you are emotional and you're sad or you're hurting and your tears are flowing. Science shows us that we are chemical beings. Our body is made up of chemical emotions. The way our brain interprets emotion and how different centers of the brain are stimulated, our brain knows the difference, our body chemistry, and it can be tested that tears can tell us whether we're happy or sad. They have chemical makeup that creates that same reaction from different ways. Why am I mentioning that? Because you can go from laughing one moment and crying the next, or vice versa. And what that simply means is there's a lot. We're complex beings. You're coping. You're going through, a really, I don't even want to say just rough time, but just a new place probably in your life right now. And trying to navigate that is going to be challenging. So give yourself permission to feel whatever you feel, however you feel it, and remind yourself to take it one day at a time. Early in the slide, I said the goal is to keep on moving. You never want to get stuck in one place. Though you can't change all the things that are happening around you, what you can change is how you cope and deal with them. So life is 90% of what happens, 10% of what happens to us, but 90% of how we handle it. Meaning, what is our attitude? What is our outlook? Does it mean we can't ever get in our feelings? It does not mean that. But what it does say to us is don't get stuck there. Continue to move through. And what you will find is people say, oh, time will make everything better. And I will, as a person who's lost a loved one, as a person who's helped someone through difficult times, and they came out of whatever that challenge or trial was, they came out of it beautifully. However, did it not create some memories and some scars and some challenges along the way? Absolutely. But what time did do was time allowed us and them, and it will for you, how to navigate and to readjust to what may be considered the new normal. Okay, so while the goal is to get back as close to what your normal and your prior state is and what your family dynamic and to redefine what that looks like, part of that new journey is redefining as well, finding your new traditions, finding things that are meaningful, revisiting why these traditions were meaningful in the beginning, and then looking at it to see, is this an opportunity for our family to evolve even further and include other people's insight and input into new traditions that the family can continue to develop. All right. So this has been our time today. I hope that something you heard today has been helpful and insightful as it relates to your journey through whatever your time of challenge right now, your health issues, but more importantly, that you can find a few of these nuggets and redefine for you what your new normal, what your new holiday, what new traditions you can embrace. Have a wonderful holiday season, and I'll open the floor now for questions.
Thank you so much, Jayla. I love that you were able to bring this message to everybody. And, because the holidays can be a tough time for people. And as if anybody, feels like they need somebody to talk to, I mean, this is what our patient support groups on Facebook are for. You're more than welcome to join us by registering join us in the conversation by registering for those on our Facebook pages. So if anyone does end up having questions after our talk today, you can access us through Facebook or through our website. And the video, if you missed any portion of this, the video will be made available to you next week on our Facebook and website as well. So I don't think we have any questions now, Jayla. So thank you so much, and I'll talk to you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much. All right.